When we are young, we are told that in life, anything is possible, anything at all. If you want to be the richest man on earth, you have the potential to be so. A scholar, also possible. Successful businessman, absolutely. A lawyer, doctor, candlestick maker, yes, all of those things are possible. We can be who and what we want to be, given our given, so to speak. The race that we're born into, the socioeconomic situation, factors such as these can change those things. And then I can proceed forward. But unfortunately, what we are not told is that those things will not come to us just because we go to school. Will not happen in that way. We must learn to work, develop a systematic way to accomplish a goal. And we're not taught this, I think, many times. We're fooled by the internet. Suddenly people are bloggers or vloggers and they're getting millions of followers and they're living an idyllic life. Away it goes. But it's just not the truth. Life is hard and life is work. So you are free to be who you want to be, but you're not going to accomplish anything without some way to get onto your path. So how do I begin? Well, at the very beginning, I must get some form of part-time job when I'm relatively young, still going to high school. Why do I say this? Well, work for the most of us, if it's pure work, selling your time for money, is a very unpleasant phenomenon, and you need experience at how unpleasant it is. So your first job, when you're 16 years old, working in perhaps a gas station or a Starbucks or some other restaurant, whatever it is, will teach you, I do not want to live this way for the rest of my life. So I can see that selling my time for money is a painful process. And I'm going to remember this. So learn to work at an early age. And then the notebook, I learned to talk to myself, because the only person who can educate me, who can really teach me, of course, is me. Yes, we need good professors, and yes, we need loving parents, all of those things. But if I object to their methods of teaching, I will never learn. I will not accept them unto me. I teach myself. Then I think what we must get into is a realization that I effectively am an independent agent in the world. And the world is not my private being inside my brain or wherever that world is. Lots of debate of where consciousness actually exists, but it's somewhere, for sure. So I must become conscious, if you will, of the fact that what's inside of me doesn't have to be presented in the world. I can continue to have poor manners, dressed like a boor, all the rest of it, and limit my own social contacts due to my own foolishness. So I must learn to develop some style, a brand, if you will, the brand of Leon, the brand of me, right? For sure. And then some gratitude, pure gratitude that I've been given a chance to get into the race, the human race, that is. And I think many, many people don't appreciate how lucky they are. Whatever a person's body, ethnicity, gender, all the rest of it, I've been given a chance to develop. And then we come to the ultimate freedom, the freedom to share you with the world. So the more you grow in stature and power, the more you must be modest with that power and that stature and give back to civilization, because life is not about me. For sure not. It's about we. And many people today in a capitalistic driven society forget that a lot of people, most probably, are not like me. They're not hardworking. They're not ambitious. They're not from good families. They've really had a tough bit of luck when they were born. And they must work harder than I have to work. And yes, I must work hard, of course. But some people have to work a lot harder. And that's just the way it is, and has always been for that point. And the final conclusion is that I must not become smug. Yes, give back all of that, but some people are just a little bit smug, meaning I've achieved my pinnacle of power and I'm just basking in my good fortune, because I must remind myself that my good fortune can be snatched away, for sure. Boethius wrote a book, The Consolation of Philosophy, in the 6th century, and it was about his misfortune, if you will. He made an error and he was arrested and everything was stripped away, his lands, his social status, and then he was sentenced to death. And between the time he was sentenced to death and the time he was actually executed, he wrote this book. And this book has a dialogue with philosophy, if you will, as the principal character. And philosophy points out that whatever happens in life, you must be prepared to deal with it, whatever it is. And many people call it a religious book. It doesn't mention religion at all, but it gives you a spiritual way of seeing your life. Good read. Recommended. So you are free to be what you want to be in life, but promise yourself that you're always going to put in the work. Always excellence. Why not? And you know what they say. You know what they say. Critical thinking is necessary if I truly am going to free myself and become the person I want to be in my life, or at least get on the path. And critical thinking is great. Truly great. You take care of yourself. God bless. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, Dave here. Today is July 11th, 2025. This is the 20th day of our El Camino journey. Today, in the morning, it was warm and then it quickly became hotter as the day progressed. We traveled from Bercianos del Real Camino to Mansilla de las Mulas. This was about 25 kilometers, I believe, somewhere like that, 25, 26-ish. And the terrain was mostly flat. We were still on the Meseta, and probably tomorrow we will leave the Meseta as we head off to Leon. Today we are going to talk about effort. So, just almost a year ago, I had left my full-time job as a teacher, that my contract was about ready to come up to resign. And after talking with my supervisor, I just said, no, I think I'm done. I'm not going to sign up for another year. And this was after working for this company for about 10 years. Now, this was not a surprise to me to leave, though my colleagues were shocked. But I had in my mind that I had wanted to move on and do something else, to become an author, to focus my energy towards a software development and publishing company, so on and so forth. And about 5 months before my contract came due, I started working and putting all of my energy towards making these things a reality. And then I left my job. I had some savings, and away we went. It's been about a year, and despite having set the groundwork, the framework a little bit a year back, it wasn't really enough to get me where I really wanted to be. But I can feel that once I go back to Taiwan, I'll be able to hit the ground running again, and I will be able to bring things where I want them to be. This required a lot of effort, that there were so many sleepless nights trying to juggle my full-time job at the school with laying out the groundwork, having interviews with people from around the world to score contracts. And it just took every ounce of my energy to be able to lay out even the foundation that I did. And without this foundation, I would not have been able to leave my job. And I would have signed the contract for another year, and I would have felt dissatisfied with my life. It was funny, as we were walking along today, I was talking with someone who works at the Met, and he's a violinist. And I said to him, I said, so how did you get to this level? I said, are you a prodigy? And of course, I didn't think he was. This means no insult to him, but I guess what I'm saying is, I've done music, and I've been in that music art scene. And I know many people who are not prodigies, but they just put the work in to become musicians. And so I felt maybe this might be the same situation, but I didn't know. And I also realized for a lot of people who are not in this scene, they just see somebody and they think, oh, this person is a prodigy. Not true. Not true at all. The man I was talking to, he told me that he started playing violin when he was 3. And then as he got older, as a child, he ended up doing numerous activities that his mother and father had asked him to do. Usual activities: soccer, art, maybe some educational programs. But as he became a teenager, he became a bit rebellious, and these other activities, they just kind of dropped off. But the one that stuck with him was violin. And at that point, he decided to focus his attention towards violin. He took lessons in a city about 10 hours away from where he lived, once every 3 weeks. And before long, he was sacrificing everything, his education and everything, to focus on violin. When he was 18, he went to the States, and he went to one of the best music schools in the States. He said he felt unprepared, but that after a semester, he was able to catch up with his peers. But this was all through hard work, the effort he put in. He told me, yes, there is talent and it will help you, but it's about the effort that will allow you to reach your dreams.
So, Leon here. Now, David raises an interesting point. Malcolm Gladwell has a book called The Outliers, and in it he discusses something called the 10,000-hour rule. The 10,000-hour rule means that if you put 10,000 hours into an activity, and I think he quotes the Beatles in this case, if you put 10,000 hours into something, it's about 5 to 10 years of normal activity, you have a chance at success. So this young man that Dave is referring to spent that time to prepare himself. And yes, always natural talent to be a prodigy is wonderful, but most people are not. They have to put in the time. So you think to yourself, when you get your notebook out, I don't know what I'm good at. You get your notebook out and you begin to talk to yourself. Who's my teacher? Myself. Who's my student? Myself. You take hold of your piece of life and you find what your talent is, what you really want to do with your life. The answer is inside, I think we believe. So once you find that, you focus your talent on it and you have a good shot at success. Life, unfortunately, is fickle. Nothing is guaranteed, but you have a good shot. And education plus experience equals expertise. 10,000 hours, known as the 10,000-hour rule. So it's possible for everyone to be successful, is the point. Whatever your socioeconomic background is, whatever the way you look, men, women, doesn't matter. You have this chance, but you have to believe. And this young man, from a very early age, believed that he would one day be a concert violinist. And ultimately, he achieved his dream through effort, through hard work. Back to Dave.
Yes. And that's what we see through time. It's just like my friend who works at the national park, which I mentioned a few days back. Once again, he had the dream that he wanted to work for the national parks, but to get into this kind of job, it's very competitive. But he knew what he wanted to do from quite early on, so he put forth the effort. He volunteered during the summers at some jobs and some internships for free. When I first went to university myself, I was studying computer science. And this was in the early days. Computer science was a lot more difficult then than it is now. And when I say the early days, that's kind of a joke even, because the people who were doing computer science in the 70s and 80s, they had an even harder job at it than I did. But compared to today, where you just run some scripts through Unity or something, it's a lot easier today. But anyways, one of my professors had looked at us on the first day of our computer science class, and he says, if you want to succeed in here, you need to eat, sleep, and drink coding. He said, otherwise, you won't succeed. And he meant it. Every day, that's all we did, was either code or read and study about how to code. It was quite difficult back then, but those who succeeded, they put in the effort. Back to Leon for some final thoughts.
So I'm free to be me. I'm free to do what I want in my life if I put in the effort. I have a good shot. No guarantees, but a good shot. That's all any of us deserve and any of us want, I think. So you take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
All right.
Good evening. Bye.